always a pleasure to invite our dear friends now from Novel Effect in. I know you all are going to be absolutely blown away if this is your first time hearing or seeing Novel Effect. And at the end of this hour or time together, you're going to be really excited for what we're going to reveal to you as well. So, Haley, thank you so much for being with us. This is our wonderful arts educators.
Absolutely. And thanks, arts educators. Thank y'all for being here. Thanks, Wendy. I need you to come and introduce me to every group that I speak to because what an awesome introduction. I'm super excited to be back and talking to you all. I think this is maybe, gosh, third or so, fourth year maybe, that I've got to chat with Wendy and got to chat with you all about Novel Effect. And we're excited. We are small company, small business, and we are growing and we have a lot of changes and new things that have come about in this past year. So my hope is whether Novel Effect is brand new to you or if you've used Novel Effect in the past, that after this, next 45 minutes or so, you're going to walk away with another idea, another way that you can use Novel Effect, or like I said, if you're brand new, with a new tool to bring into your classroom, to bring to your students, and to bring your read alouds to life. Before I get started, I do have a deck that I'll share in just a minute, but just by like a show of hands, or you can do an emotion or emoji in your Zoom. How many of you have read with Novel Effect or know about Novel Effect? Okay, I see a few hands raised. Awesome. I'm gonna scroll to the next page real quick. Okay, some hands. I'm seeing about maybe half and half here. Okay, awesome. Great. Yeah, in the chat too, if you want to share anything about your experience, I always love to hear that. And we'll have a chat or a chance a little bit later on also. I'm going to open the floor up to those of you who have read with Novel Effect to share any experiences or any favorites that you have, especially with stories related to arts education. So if you're familiar with Novel Effect, keep that question kind of moving through your head, and we'll open the floor up a little bit later on so you can share with those educators who have not yet read with Novel Effect. But I am going to share my screen with you now. Let's see, make sure I'm sharing my sound for a little bit later on. All right, and we should be able to see that. Are y'all able to see my screen? Perfect, wonderful. All right, so without further ado, let's talk about rocking your read aloud with Novel Effect. Um, I always like to start here. This likely isn't news to you all, but this is something that really drives us here at Novel Effect, and it's that idea that read alouds are critical. They are so important. Reading just 20 minutes a day exposes children to 1.8 million words a year, strengthening vocabulary, comprehension, and critical thinking skills. Unfortunately, as you likely have seen as educators, there's an attention problem here. It's not news that students have trouble paying attention, and often this results in story time, books, so boring, not being that exciting thing that can capture and hold students' attention, can lead to story time, reading time being kind of a dreaded time of day, sometimes for students, often for teachers. Where behaviors come up. It's hard to sit still. It's hard to listen and keep your attention. Even us as adults, we can relate to our attention being pulled so many different ways. And the allure of those interactive devices, TVs, tablets, video games, kind of all stealing that attention even more. And that's where Novel Effect comes in, and tries to solve for that a little bit. So, what we here at Novel Effect strive to do is make rocking read aloud. So, we want to make your read aloud time of day where you are reading stories with students that exciting, fun, engaging time, that is a jumping off point for learning for your students. Our co-founders recently wrote a book, and these are the kind of the pillars of that book, Rock Your Read Aloud, and what makes your read aloud rock. And that first one here is a standout story. So there are so many incredible children's books and picture books that exist in the world right now. It's such a cool time. I used to teach preschool and pre-K, and that's where I kind of deep dove into this children's literature. It's where I initially met Novel Effect and used it in my own classroom. Finding those stories where students see themselves, where students are able to build connections around what's happening in the world around them, where students are able to dive into a story that they, another world that they might not have been exposed to. All of these things are so incredible and so important. And at Novel Effect, we aren't writing new stories. We use our soundscapes, which I'll get to what that means in a minute, to really bring those existing stories to life, and to make those stories stand out, and highlight all of the amazing things that they have to offer. So, my guess is of the titles that we have in the app, you probably have some in your classroom, in your library shelves, right now that you could pull off and start reading with Novel Effect right away. The second kind of pillar here to what makes a rockin' read aloud is a show-stopping delivery. We've all listened to a story being read by somebody who is doing voices, they're animated. Y'all are arts educators. You might be like these educators who are animated, who are doing the performance. And we've all likely been able to experience what an incredible um, way to deliver a story that is, and as the listener, how you are drawn in, and want to listen and hear more. What we found at Novel Effect is there are tons of different kinds of storytellers. Some people are comfortable getting animated and jumping in, and some less so. They're focused on reading the words on the page. They're less animated, and that can lead to less attention being kept. And we at Novel Effect want to support you wherever you are, whatever kind of reader you are, in kind of being your backup dancers and making that story come alive as you read. The last thing here in what makes a rockin' read aloud, kind of the two together lead to an engaged audience. When you have a standout story, when you have show-stopping delivery, that's really when the magic happens. That's when students start to lean in. They start to predict what's going to happen next and connect to the story, build those connections. And when the book is through, those are the students that are going to ask, can we read it again? Or can we read this book? Or can I read the story? And that's exactly what we're striving for, is creating that love of reading in students. So that all sounds pretty cool. And if you don't know yet, you're probably thinking right about now, like, okay, so what is Novel Effect? And that's what I'm here to talk about. Novel Effect is an app that adds music, sound effects, and character voices to those children's books, those existing picture books that we talked about, as you read aloud from them. So these soundscapes that we call them are custom designed by our content team. This is maybe one of those careers that Wendy was referencing. So this is not, AI generated. This is actually real people, real musicians, real sound designers, and they work really hard and in a really incredible way to craft this soundscape that supports the story and also keeps in mind what you as the educator are trying to accomplish while you're reading the book. So we have many former educators on our team, myself included. So we collaborate. We're the educators, they're the musicians. I am not a very musical person myself, but I can lend my expertise on the education side. Um, and we collaborate with them to really design a unique piece that supports those books. So they are an additional piece of art along with that story that really create something totally unique and beautiful. Just as there are so many picture books, there are quite a variety of soundscapes. The one that I'm going to read a little bit later on is one of my favorites, and it really showcases some beautiful music that was created for the soundscape itself. So I'm excited to show you that. But before we get there, talk a little bit more about the other things that are included with a Novel Effect subscription. In addition to these soundscapes, we do have ebooks in the app. It's around 280, so it's not our full collection. Most do still require that you have a print copy of the book on hand, or an ebook copy if you have an ebook subscription. Personally, what I love about this is while you are integrating tech into your teaching, this can actually be a screen-free activity. So you can use your hard copy of the book. You can get Novel Effect set up on your device. Maybe it's your phone, maybe it's your computer. And as long as that device is nearby, close enough that the mic can pick up on your voice, the screen goes away. You're just focused on the book, and those sound effects are immersing you and your students in the story. So that can be a really cool piece to just get some of those screens out of the way a little bit. And then the last thing here is that Novel Effect includes book activities and resources to extend learning after the read aloud is through. These are custom designed as well by former educators on our team. I'll do a little bit more of a deep dive in a bit here, but think craftivities, activities, crafts, worksheets, discussion questions, writing prompts, all related to a specific title and differentiated by grade level. So super, super awesome resource for extending learning once you've finished a read aloud with those. Okay, just a few more points, and then I promise we are going to see Novel Effect in action. But I'm going to just note a few things that we really strive for here, and that first one is increasing engagement. I've mentioned this a few times now, but those soundscapes are designed to respond in real time and draw students into the story and encourage active listening. So as we read the soundscape, you'll notice it's actually not a recording. It's driven by your voice, and your voice and the words you're reading from the page are what are going to trigger the sound effects that happen. So there's a real call and responsiveness there. So you don't need to read fast. You don't have to read slow to keep up with it. It's able to really support you as you read, and your students will feel that as you move through the story together. The multisensory reading experience also supports diverse learning styles and sparks curiosity that builds a love of reading. This point always makes me think of when I was in the classroom, a story I love to share. I was reading with Novel Effect one day, and The Last Stop on Market Street has a scene in it where somebody's on the bus and he's playing a guitar. And that day I had my phone with the speaker sitting next to my coffee cup, like on a table nearby. And that scene happened, and I saw one of my students, and he was like jaw dropped, just looking around. And he said, "Teacher, is there a little man playing the guitar in your coffee cup?" And I just loved how his imagination was running wild, he was feeling the music, and he was so curious as to what was happening, and I loved that. Um and as we know, engaged classrooms reduce disruptions, and that creates a time where students and teachers are looking forward to reading together. I know many teachers share with us they have like a speaker maybe Novel Effect branded, maybe not, but when they get that speaker out, their students know, okay, this book has the sound effects. We're ready to listen. Let's go. So I love that. The second thing here, we really strive to drive literacy growth. I mentioned our content team works with our educators to really get across what we're trying to get across in the soundscapes with the story itself. So it's really intentional, all of the work that goes into it. And those subtle shifts in music can reveal character emotions, and guide students to recognize both tone and mood. I like to compare it to a movie soundtrack. If you're watching a movie and a character is, experiencing an emotional event, there's often music that accompanies that, and that can help you both identify how that character is feeling and even maybe feel that way yourself. We know that aids in memory. We know that aids in just building empathy, as well. So the music can really guide those feelings and help students understand, further what is going on in a story, which is super cool. And the story-specific sound effects also help to define words in context, which strengthens vocabulary and comprehension. Soundscape rhythms also mimic storytelling structures, which help students predict events and build fluency. The last one here, we strive to make planning easy, so curated collections are relevant to what you're currently teaching. I'm going to get into the app in a little bit, and we're going to explore a few of those collections. We also have those ready to use resources available. They make great sub activities. I always like to give a plug for that, to extend that learning. And it's also flexible and easy to use. So Novel Effects started as a mobile app. We do still have a mobile app. But this past year, super exciting, we launched our web-based version of the app. So this means that with a subscription, you can log into Novel Effect from a browser, like on a web laptop or a desktop, and you can access Novel Effect that way as well. So high demand for that. We're super excited. And that's actually what I'm going to move into as we, kind of explore these newer features of Novel Effect for those of you, who have been reading with Novel Effect before. And we'll get into a read aloud. So I'm going to close out of this page. And as I do, if any questions have come up, I'd love for you to shout them out.
One question, Haley, that I did mark in the chat.
Yeah.
Let me find it. Did Novel Effect expand their libraries to cater to high school students? Because I know last year we did have some versions of like Harry Potter, some chapters for middle school. But I did mark that question for you in the chat.
Yeah, good question. And your answer is right and still the same. So our primary collection is pre-K to fifth grade, and that's really where the focus has been in new content this past year. There are some options for those older readers. We have a collection of poetry, some chapter books. Wendy, you mentioned the first chapter of Harry Potter in there, but those ones haven't been expanded, further. So great question. Yeah, any other questions? Lovely.
Haley, I will kind of expand though, because I invited everyone to this. Because you all know I'm a firm believer in not, you can do lower level, what we assume as primary text, lower level readings for all of our students. So I taught high school and I would pull out some of these elementary, considered elementary text, even for my high school students. So just remember that. So.
Yeah, yeah.
And Tara, we're getting to that. Is it free? No, it isn't, but you do get a perk since you are in this grant. So we'll get to that in just a moment.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, I know I have talked to many educators, usually at conferences who are in like older middle or high school, who got it like to use with their family, like their children, they're like, my students are too old. And they use it with their kids. And then for whatever reason, an opportunity came up to read with students, and their students are like rapt attention, and they're like, everybody thought they were too old until I started reading. It turns out everybody loves being read to every now and then. So
And Haley, one more thing, and then I'll stop interrupting.
No, you go for
Susan
it.
had a great comment. High school could use this to go into primary and elementary schools during reading events where the students are being read to. Love that. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. And I love the ideas being generated in the chat. Keep it up. Um, okay, so I have moved now into Novel Effect Web. Um, if you have a paid subscription, you are able to log into it on the web. So this is currently only available for subscribers. And as you can see, hopefully at least, many titles you already recognize, you maybe already have on your shelf, maybe you already have plans to read some of these later this week or into the holiday season. These are different collections that you can click into if you're looking to get ideas, just kind of browse and see what's available on Novel Effect. I think it came up earlier just with adding titles, but we do add new titles to the app every week. So we're constantly adding. We just actually released The Humble Pie, I think, on Monday. So if you've read these other Jory John books, The Humble Pie is one of the newer ones, and it's super fun, super relevant for this time of year. Um, and excuse me, if you have a title that you want to read that you're looking for, you can come on over to this magnifying glass and you can just search for it by name. Um, so I'm going to read The Scarecrow. This is a favorite of mine. This also, I think many of you will appreciate it, just for the beautiful music that was scored for it. I'm pulling it up here. In just a moment, we'll see a button to press play. And once I press that, you all should hear a chime. If you do, give me a thumbs up. That just lets me know I have configured all of my Zoom settings properly. Were you able to hear that? Perfect. Okay. If I was in the classroom with you, I would just be reading from my print copy of the book. But for now, I'm going to move on over here so you all can see it, and we will read The Scarecrow by Beth Ferry. Autumn sunshine, haystacks rolled. Scarecrow guards the fields of gold. No one enters. No one dares. Scarecrow stands alone and scared. The fox and deer, the mice and crows. It's all he does. It's all he knows. He never rests. He never bends. He's a evil friend. For all the woodland creatures know not to mess with old Scarecrow. Winter whispers. Velvet snow. Scarecrow has no place to go. He dreams of what the spring will bring, of buds and blooms and things that sing. Then something drops from midair. A small, scared crow lying there. Broken nest? Broken wing? Scarecrow does the strangest thing. He snaps his pole, bends down low, saves the tiny baby crow. He tucks him near his heart of hay. He lets him sleep. He lets him stay. He doesn't stop to wonder why. He sings the sweetest lullaby. Safe and warm the nestling mends. These two make the oddest friends. But friends they are right from the start. The crow will grow in Scarecrow's heart. I mentioned before too, I can stop. I can talk. This music's gonna loop for a little. It might eventually time out, but the app is designed to support you. You could talk to students, you can ask questions. Once you start reading again, those words are what are going to trigger the soundscape. And he will peek out at the farm, and he will perch on Scarecrow's arm, and they will laugh and wish on stars, forgetting who they really are. For crows are birds, and birds must fly. The fledgling spreads his wings to try. He dips and soars and caws out loud. Scarecrow cheers, pleased and proud.
Hooray!
But as he watches, Scarecrow knows that he must stay and Crow must go. Summer sunshine, autumn chill. Snowflakes make it colder still. No one visits, no one cares. Scarecrow sags alone and stares. Broken heart, broken pole, nothing fills the empty bowl. Then something drops from midair. A large black crow standing there. Scarecrow's arms are open wide. Crow spreads his wings and swoops inside. Joyful heart, brimming whole, a friend will mend a broken pole, and he will swoop up matted hay, and he will say, I'm here to stay. Winter's over, springtime's due. Is there room enough for two? Flowers blooming, fields of green. 5 small eggs are tucked unseen. Scarecrow guards them, for he knows that soon they will be baby crows. And he will love them from the start, and they will grow up in his heart. And they will poop and poop and play and make him happy every day. And as the seasons come and go, they will love their dear Scarecrow. I wasn't going to read that whole thing, but I get so pulled into that story. So that's just a glimpse at one of our soundscapes there. Just as there are so many children's books, there are so many different kinds of soundscapes. We have different sound designers, we have different sound designers, we have different musicians, different styles that people use when they're crafting their soundscape. So if you liked that one, The Yellow Bus by Lauren Long is also on Novel Effect, and that was scored by the same musician, and has some really beautiful music in it as well. If you are looking more for some interactivity, we have soundscapes that have more of a character forward. I always point to the Jory John books for those ones. Think of like The Big Cheese. So they have a character that follows throughout the book, and there's a lot of call and response, a lot of voiceover as that character kind of moves through the book with you and with your students. So if you're new to Novel Effect, I really do recommend try out several different soundscapes just to kind of to feel the different vibes, see what you react well to, see what your students react the best to. I would love to know in the chat before I move on to talking about book activities, if any of you have favorite soundscapes that you would love to share, or that you think are like great for those who are new to Novel Effect to start out with. I, of course, have my own recommendations, but I always love to hear what your students have been reacting to the best. Yeah, we're getting into the holidays too, so seasonal titles welcome. I see Angie said "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." Room on the Broom, Big Pumpkin in November, great. Stand Tall. Oops, this moved for me. Stand Tall, Molly Lou Melon. I love that. That's a fun one. We'll keep them coming in the chat and keep an eye on there to get some ideas brewing. Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, these are all super fun times to bring novel effect in. But it's not always just the fun titles either. I always bring to mind reading, not that they're not fun, but nonfiction titles that, they can drag on a little bit sometimes. And I was teaching younger students. I was teaching 4 and 5-year-olds. And some books that I wouldn't necessarily read with those students without novel effect, I found I was able to read with novel effect because it kept their attention and carried us through those stories. So keeping that in mind as well. Okay, so we are going to move on from soundscapes to talk about a few of the other perks of novel effect. But I'm going to pause one more time now that you were able to see novel effect in action. Did that bring up any more questions? Christy, I haven't read your whole note in here. I just said I'm obsessed with this, or saw I'm obsessed with this, and I love it. But any questions that have come up? Well, we will move on then to activities. So I mentioned these before. We have activity plans and resources for many books in our collection. These are, like I said, included with your premium subscription. They're differentiated for pre-K to 5th grade, and they're designed by former educators on our team. They include crafts worksheets, writing prompts, discussion questions, tons and tons of way to extend the read aloud. Excuse me. So here are a few from the Scarecrow. If we even wanted to go back into the app, oops, I don't know what's going wrong here, but I can show you how we would pull those up. Anything that has a pencil icon in the corner, so you see this pencil down here, that is going to have book activities and resources connected to it. I also like to just go on over to this magnifying glass and click the pencil with activity plans. This collection shows all of the books that have activity plans connected with them. So you'll see 11 pages of titles that have activities connected to them. If you have the book that you want those activities for, you can click in and then you can just actually download them right here. So this is also a newer feature. If you had used Novel Effect in the past, you might have been familiar with needing to do a whole checkout process with a promo code to get them for free. As long as you're logged in, you can download these. This is on the web and this is also from your mobile app. So you could save them or you could email them to yourself or you could send them directly to a printer if your device is connected to one. So this is much more streamlined than it was last year when I talked to you. So hopefully if you haven't tried this yet, go ahead and try accessing those activities. As you can see for the Scarecrow here, this one has 60 pages of activities and resources connected to it. I'll just kind of do a little scrolling through here quickly so you can get an idea of what those look like. Some sort of coloring pages. There's different sequencing, cut and paste kind of style activities. And then as we get further in for older learners, there'll be more prompts for like writing and then we'll get, there we are, get to discussion questions as well. So these are broken down, you'll see in the top corner by grade level and include before, during, and after the reading questions. These are super, super helpful, especially if you feel like you could improve at asking questions while you are reading with students. This is a great way just to get into that practice of what kinds of questions you want to be asking. So definitely recommend jumping in here. Usually at the end, there's also a no print novelties. So if you just want to have a little extra activity in your back pocket in case you have extra time at the end of class, these can be super helpful as well. So once again, to access those, oops, you just go to the activity plans button, or you find any soundscape that has a pencil icon in the corner. I'll click in. You select the book, and then you just click on that title there, and that will allow you to open up the PDF. And from here, you can save it, you can print it, you can share it how you would like to. So those are some of our activity plans. Let's see, get back to my deck here. A couple other examples I think are included in here. Oops. Hold on, we're having a moment to catch up. There we go. So these are some movement activities. These ones are taken from How to Code a Sandcastle. And then a few from the Smart Cookie. So these include a craftivity that can be repurposed, like for a bulletin board craft. Great way to kind of showcase what you've been doing in the classroom. And then this is just those instructions I shared with you, if they're useful to see in writing, on how you can access those both on mobile and on the web. You can look for that pencil icon and tap the book, open the soundscape, and find that activity plan there. So like I noted before, if you used a code previously, no need to do that. Just make sure that you're logged into your premium subscription and you will be able to download them right there. While you are on the website, I also recommend checking out some of our reading calendars. So these can be found just at noveleffect.com under, I believe it's the resources tab. These read aloud calendars are downloadable and they're editable. So if you had different titles you wanted to slot in here, but this is a really great way to kind of plan for your month ahead, for reading, for what titles you might want to showcase. And they have some for every month. These are also designed by our former educators. So a great tool if you are looking for other ways to kind of incorporate Novel Effect and see which books we have there. Let's see, how are we doing on time? Oh, we're doing great. A few other tips and tricks we'll cover before we just wrap things up and open the floor up for any final questions and talking through your access to Novel Effect. Somebody had mentioned going to the younger grades. I love that. Also, if you have mystery readers in your classroom, maybe your principal comes in, maybe you have a parent come in. Anybody who's maybe less confident than you are reading in front of a group of 30 students, which is likely most people because that's a scary, kind of intimidating thing to do when you're not used to it. Novel Effect can really help them, kind of has their back. You know, I mentioned before being backup dancers. It's really a great way to draw students in and to get an applause at the end. You know, they're excited about that read aloud that's happening, and it builds confidence in the reader, whether an adult or a student. If a student is reading with Novel Effect and they're able to get that instant feedback from those sound effects, it can really aid in building that confidence for them. I won't get too much into that, but we do have options that include student access. If you are ever interested in learning more about that, I'm happy to talk with you there. But just know that that's available. And that you can also, set your student up with your Novel Effect if you just want to have them. Maybe it's a birthday treat. I've heard of teachers doing that. So on your birthday, a student might get to pick the book, or older students might get to do the reading themselves. So all sorts of fun ways to incorporate your students there. I did also mention earlier a Bluetooth speaker. We have branded ones on our website, but any speaker that you have will work, so you don't need to buy a special new one. If you have one in your classroom that you connect either to your computer or your phone, or you have, built-in speakers connected to something, all great options. Really just helps to amplify those sound effects. The one thing I do always want to note there is make sure you know which of your devices your microphone is connected to. So that part is critical for moving the soundscape along. Think of if you were like on speakerphone with somebody, you need the mic to be about as close as you would be on speakerphone for it to be able to hear you and to know where you are in the story. So if that's your phone, that might be on your lap, that might be on a shelf nearby. You can also use an external mic if you have like a lav mic or something like that. That totally works, not required. But just know where your speaker is, or rather your microphone is, and stay near that so that it can pick up on your voice and continue to respond. Um, Let's see, labeling books. These are another optional add-on, but we do have stickers available on our website that, oops, go on the spines of your books. So you and students, sorry, I'm blurred out. It's always hard to see. There we go. Can quickly identify, oh, this is a novel effect book, and they'll know that this is one that has the sound effects connected to it. I already mentioned chatting with students. Pause. The app really is designed to support you. So do all of the things that you would normally be doing in the classroom and let Novel Effect aid in all that you're doing and just bring more of that learning magic, that excitement, and that fun. Don't feel like you need to change how you're already doing things. Keep those questions coming, all of that. And I think the last one here is you can suggest titles in the app. This currently is not yet supported on the web, but on the mobile app, if you have a title that you think would be great with Novel Effect, there is an option to suggest it from the Browse tab when you search for a title. And that goes directly to our content team that we'd mentioned earlier. So that helps them prioritize which books are being soundscaped next, and which ones we should add maybe for the future as they're being requested. So please feel free to do that. Let us know how it's going. I'm going to scroll over 2 points. Let us know how it's going if students or you have questions. Our support team is always here to help make sure everything is working for you the way that it should be. And we always love to hear either through support, through social, how it's going for you in your classrooms. So please do share. That drives our team. Like I said, many former educators, many musicians, many folks who have or still do in some ways work with students in some capacity. So we'd love to hear how Novel Effect is influencing you in your classrooms. So I think I've said everything I need to say. Wendy, I think you have a few points that you want to add, and then we'll open it up for questions after that. Does that sound good? Perfect.
Sounds great. So I'm going to quickly drop in the chat, and this is probably the most important burning question that everyone has, and then we'll open it up. Like Haley said, we'll open it up to some questions. This is your evaluation. On the evaluation, the very last question that you will see is a question that says, are you interested in a premium individual membership? So in the past, I think Haley said we've been doing this, what, 3 or 4 years now, Haley? We have thought of every way of like, watch this, then we're going to send out an email afterwards. And then notoriously people say, I didn't get that email. So this is on your evaluation. It's the very last question. So make sure you say, yes, I would love to have it, or no, this doesn't work for me. I'm telling you now, it's on your evaluation. If you miss it, it's because you didn't complete the evaluation or you skipped that question. We're not going to go back and send out an email. This is how you get it. So we've tried it multiple ways, and people will say, Wendy, I missed that email. I don't know how I missed that email. So if you miss it, it's because you're not completing your evaluation or you just skipped the question. That's how you're getting this. And then Haley and her team, they're amazing. They're great. The turnaround time for access is pretty quickly. So Gabby and Dr. Evans, we'll send this to Haley pretty quick, because we do realize that you all want access to this very quickly because it's amazing. And so that's all I have to say on our end. We wanted to roll this out to you quickly because we know it is only as good as quickly as we can put it into your hands and let you all start using it. So we're excited. I feel like Oprah on these moments, like you get a novel effect and you get a novel effect and you get a subscription. So that's kind of what this is. But we know that really it comes back to getting kids excited about learning and reading. And if you all are one small piece to that, and get them excited, this is how we do it. So thank you all so much. And we're going to open this up to questions. Haley, I know I did, I put a little check mark on some things in the chat. One question is, how do we share this with a classroom? We see an option to enter a classroom link code. So that was one question that,
Yeah, I saw that one, and I saw another one I think is kind of connected to it about getting
okay,
it for your school. So I'm going to try and answer both of those. I am
perfect.
going to drop my email address in the chat, because I'm happy to chat more specifically about our school
Wonderful.
plans in there, because y'all will be getting individual access through the grants. So that will just give access to you, which is amazing. But if you are interested in extending that access to students, to families, to teachers at your school, we do have those plans available. And you can check out pricing on our website, or like I said, I dropped Haley at noveleffect.com in the chat. If you want to shoot me an email, I'm happy to send more information on pricing and what all of that would look like, if you want to extend it beyond just that individual access.
Perfect. And then also, do some of the books have art lessons as well? That was
Yeah, we have I would say more craft than art. I know there's, some distinction there, but many do include crafts. I know I had some titles pulled up and now I can't I don't know where my note is that I had that. But we do have a couple more like art focused books. I know Mix It Up is an awesome title for Actually, I'm not even going to tell you more. I'm just going to say Mix It Up is an awesome title to check out, just as far as specific and interesting kind of music and design that go along with that soundscape. So I'd recommend that one for sure. But they do have, yeah, crafts included in many of them.
awesome. Wonderful. And then Dave, I saw your comment. Don't worry. All of my grants are going to be getting the same
Yeah, yeah.
opportunity as well. So you do
I
not have
wouldn't
to
use
pass.
it, Mindy would.
Well, she's going to get the same opportunity. So don't worry. If they're in one of my grants, Haley's coming back and doing this for all of my grants. So thank you for that, though. That's super kind.
Yeah.
And now we're just going to open the floor up. If you have any specific questions, I will send out a follow up, like on probably my Sunday night email. I'll give you Haley's email, but if you want to jot that down, if you have specific questions for Haley, otherwise, feel free to stay on. If you have grant related questions, I'll stay on for you all. Otherwise, make sure you fill out your evaluation. Make sure you check yes if you want access to Novel Effect, or you can pass and just say no, this subscription is not good for my grade level. I love some of the comments though. If you are a high school teacher and you work with peer mentoring or going in and doing those, like partnering up with student reading, that was a fantastic idea. I love that. So thank you, Susan. And there were several other comments. I love those. Those were great. So feel free to utilize that subscription to help with those as well. And this is one of many benefits of being with KDC Renaissance. So yay.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for joining. Thanks, Wendy, for organizing and for always including Novel Effect in all of this. We love partnering with you all and love the excitement. So thank you all again for joining.
Yes. Yeah. Thanks, Haley.
Yep. And I'll also stay for just a few minutes too if there's any extra questions. But
awesome. And we will try to get this out to you all ASAP. So I know you all can't wait. We can't wait for one thing I will say is make sure you all tag Novel Effect. When you're using this in the classroom, they will share, retweet you all because they love seeing it used in the classroom as much as we do.
Hey, Wendy, and one thing that I did last year with kids, and Haley didn't mention this, but on the website, there are videos of your sound engineers, making the soundscapes. I was working with a group of my brain is not braining today, but a smaller group of
The end
kids,
of the day.
enrichment activities. So we
Mhm.
watched, how they did these soundscapes,
I love
and
it.
then they used classroom instruments to create a soundscape for Dr. Seuss's My Many Colored Days.
Love it.
So, they were familiar with novel effect because we'd used it in the classroom, but then, they got their chance to novel effect, another
I
book. So,
remember your project. Yes, I love that.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a great
So
idea.
I also remember
yeah,
seeing that shared within our team. I don't know if I knew
Yeah.
it was somebody
yeah.
from this organization, but I remember seeing it shared. Very cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was just really I love it. I was ready to pay for it myself if Renaissance wasn't going to pay for it again. That's how
See,
good it
that's a
is.
testimonial, Haley, of how, yeah,
Yeah,
I love it.
it was
I
Yeah.
love
worth
it. And I
it
also
would
love
have
that you
been
don't
worth
have to pay for it yourself.
Yeah.
Me too.
See, and we believe in it that strong. I mean, we know that it works, the excitement. And that's one reason why when we sent out that needs assessment, last night, I think is when I sent that. If you all are sending us like testimonials like this, if you're sending in that hard, like that raw data of look at how excited my kids were when, if you all send us that, we can keep, going to bat for you over programming and going to bat for saying this is where we want to put our money because we know that you all love novel effect and we know because we can say, look, this is how many of our teachers are using this. This is where, this is why we want to keep reinvesting in this year after year. Otherwise, if you all say, I've never used that, I've never opened it up, my kids have never, that's why when we say, please help us in sharing those kind of testimonials, those kind of pictures, I had people sending me videos last year. Watch my kids, look how excited they are. When we opened this up, when we're reading this, principals that were coming into classrooms and they were reading it and you all had surprised them. Like they didn't realize that it was on. That's the kind of things that we get excited about. So keep doing what you're doing. You all are amazing. So thank you. I love it. Oh, look, powered by caffeine and creativity. I love it, Alex. Did you do that this quick? I love it.
Okay.
Y'all are awesome.
Hey, Wendy, when you get a chance, I have a quick question about the newsletters for the
Absolutely. And we can
grants.
stay on. Yeah, absolutely. I will
Okay.
answer all of those questions. Yep, we'll stay on. If anyone else has any other questions about novel effect, as always, Haley, thank you so much. That was
Absolutely.
incredible. And then we'll kind of transition to newsletters. I know I didn't talk about that much in our leadership meeting the other day. Drawing helps me focus. Ask Jim Evans. Drawing helps him focus too. If you ever sitting beside him in a meeting, he doodles and draws the entire time. So I get that.
I'll hop off here. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, Haley. Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. And I will send you that list as soon as we have all of our people.
That sounds
So
great.
that's awesome.
All right. Bye.
Yeah, I get it. We could do coffee mugs. I love it. Take up an order and everybody get a coffee mug. About the newsletter, let me transition over and I actually have that pulled up. I will share my screen. Maybe. So if you see my screen, and I'll kind of do a better job. I apologize. I was a little all over the place. But if you pull up invoice 2, you'll see things like we talked about Twitter, 10 tweets. As long as you do your first 10 tweets by January. So from November to January, 10 tweets, you get paid $50. And those are to be 10 tweets that really articulate what you're doing either in your own professional learning journey or with your students. It doesn't have to, I know some districts are really, they don't want you taking pictures of students in the school day. It could be like student work. It could be what you're learning in your cadre sessions, that kind of thing. But just make sure that they are talking about, and we've kind of got the little things here. Like it could be implementation of lessons, student engagement. It could be, anything that you've learned through your cadres and how you're really taking that learning and using it in the classroom. It could even be like today. I'm so excited about novel effect. I can't wait to use this with my students. They're going to love it. Just make sure they're really thoughtful tweets. And then the newsletter, we've got here is the form and here's how you upload it. You just click on that form and it can be anything. So it's something, any success story. It could be something that you and your students are doing. It could be something in your classroom. Like
Okay,
if you have
so sorry to
it
interrupt.
could be like Oh, you're fine. It could be a classroom project that you're working on. It could be like one work of art. It could be something in music. It could be any way to highlight or promote the arts. And you can, this is probably the easiest way, and Jamie will probably tell you this too. Um, you do not have to design your article. You can send us a Word document. You can send us like a Google Doc. We will format it, make it beautiful. We put it in our own newsletter shell. So the easiest way would be just you type it up really quickly in a Word doc or in a Google Doc. And then if you have any pictures, we'll make it beautiful. Like, because Jamie will do all the formatting, she'll do all of that. So just real quick, if you type it up and say, hey, this is what's going on in my classroom, this is what my students are working on, or something, even think about it this way, even if you're personally learning something, like I'm working on this class on my own to hone my own craft. That's what we're looking for.
Okay, that was my biggest question was because I teach streams, so I have a little bit of art and music already in there.
Awesome.
So that was my biggest question was does it have to be something like new or is it can
Nope.
it be just anything that's art and
Anything.
music?
Anything music, because
Okay.
what we're doing is we send this, so that's kind of the way I want you all thinking about this, is we send our newsletters to your principals, to your like instructional coaches, superintendents, and to U.S. Department of Ed. So it's going to be a showcase of, wow, look at all of these fantastic arts educators. This is how we're promoting the arts in Kentucky. So you just want it to highlight and speak to, we're awesome, and here's how awesome we are. And then we pay you, of course, you'd get $50 if you submit anything before January 30th. And it could be about your students. It could be about you personally. It could be about, this is how professionally I'm growing as an arts educator. This is what I'm doing in my classroom, but we'll make it pretty fancy. But if you have pictures to support that, or it could even be about, this is what I've learned since I've been with Renaissance. So think about it that way.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
You're very welcome.
Howdy.
All right. You all have a wonderful, if anybody else has any other questions about anything, and I'll do a much better job on our Sunday night emails about explaining some of that. I know I felt like that it was a little bit of drinking from a water, or not a water hose, but more like a fire hydrant. It was a lot of information to get to you all. So we'll slowly kind of throw some of that at you. And if you know anybody that's been in Renaissance, they probably are kind of coaching you a little bit too. But at first, it's a little bit overwhelming. You're like, oh, what have I gotten into? And again, all of this is optional. You do not have to do any of it other than the pre-test and the post-test and the surveys. Everything else is just show up if you want to learn more about it. And that's the beauty of it. Makes it really nice. So,
Hey Wendy,
yes,
uh,
ma'am.
it's me, Sarah.
I
I
hear your
apologize.
voice.
I apologize for my camera not being on. I have
No
tried and
worries.
tried this whole time to get it to work, but I think what the problem was is I had gotten a new computer a couple of months ago and
Yeah.
it's blocked or whatever, so I'm gonna have to get my
Oh,
tech team to work on that for me. But I've
yeah.
been here and I've been listening, so it's good to
Yeah.
see
I got your
everyone.
message early on. You're fine.
Okay. All right.
You're
Thank you.
good. You're good, sweet girl.
All right. Have a good evening.
You too.
Bye.
I know, Shelly, we missed you all. It's been good to see everybody. I've missed everybody.